This is not my final step. Like, I knew it every single day I went to work that this was not what I wanted to do. I was not happy with what I was doing. I was not happy being there, and I just couldn't rest with it. Hey mates, welcome back to another video. My name is Akida. I am a lifestyle influencer as well as an HR professional. Today's video, I'm going to talk about my journey getting into human resources, and I'm very excited about this video because I do get asked often, how did I get into human resources? What are the steps that you need to take to get into human resources? Which department can I go in to get into human resources? How do I transition into human resources? And I think, you know, this video was owed a sit down video so we can discuss my personal journey as well as the tips and tricks that I can share with you today. So go ahead, light your fire, go ahead and grab your cozy blanket, get your tea, your wine, coffee, and let's get started. All right, so for those of you who are not familiar with human resources, it oftentimes is referred to as HR for short. And oftentimes I think people think that we are the bad guys. We are not the bad guys. We are advocates for the employer as well as the employees. And we are comprised of 5 main departments. Those departments are: there's training and development, employee relations, HR compliance, workplace safety, as well as labor relations. Again, those are some of the many different departments that can be housed under the HR umbrella. So I work on the talent management side, which is oftentimes recruitment. I work as a talent acquisition manager. I do have a direct report that supports me. And every organization that I've been at, the HR department looks a little bit differently. I've worked with very large organizations where there are several different members, several different departments, several different hundreds of team members. And then I've worked in small departments where there may be one person who's the HR person, or there may be 5 or 6, 12, 11. You know, it really does vary based on the organization that you work on, again, and the different components that are involved. All right, so I want to start my journey talking not only about when I started with HR, but backing up a little bit with my work experience. So I started working at the age of 14 years old. It was not by force, it was by choice. And that was at a store called Winn-Dixie. It was a grocery store called Winn-Dixie, and I was a bagger. And I started doing that role with a couple of my friends who were in the same neighborhood as myself. So we all had rides, we all, you know, loved each other, were friends with each other. So we all went to work together, went to school together, we played outside together. So it was just a really good transition into the workforce. And I stayed there, of course, maybe a couple of months. You know, I was a kid. But then from that point, I did continuously have a job being referred by other friends. I worked at Finish Line, and then I went on to work for other stores like Payless. I worked at Charlotte Russe, I worked at Route 21, and then I also had a short stint working at Aldo as well. And so I've been in the retail customer service industry for most of my work history, and I always knew that I wanted to work in a role where I felt that I was impacting someone's livelihood, that I was making a change in someone's life, that they would remember, or that would carry a lot of weight in their endeavors, honestly. And so I didn't know what that would look like. So when my store at Charlotte Russe closed down, I had a great friend of mine who referred me to work at the hospital with her. So I worked at the hospital finishing up undergrad, and I did that for 3 years. And once I graduated, I did get married, and then my husband got orders to Florida. So I worked in a doctor's office in Florida for about a year. And I just kept saying, I know this is not my final step. Like, I knew it every single day I went to work that this was not what I wanted to do. I was not happy with what I was doing. I was not happy being there, and I just couldn't rest with it. So eventually I reached out to a staffing company, which is called Randstad. And I reached out to them and I just shared my interest. I said, I am looking to get into human resources. And with that, I literally just followed up. I shared my work experience, shared what I could bring to the table, and an opportunity came about for me to be an administrative coordinator for a real estate company in Florida. And that was the catapult that really launched my career. So from that point, the role was intended to be temp to hire, which means a temporary position for a couple of months until they decided they wanted to keep me on full time or not. Well, my interview went amazing and they decided to go ahead and keep me on full time. So I started out into the role full time, not as a temporary basis, and loved the experience. A few weeks in, an opportunity came about that they were going to integrate a recruitment system. Well, I had been sharing with them that I wanted to work more into human resources. I wanted to work closely with the HR manager, which our HR team was quite small at that organization, but I wanted to figure out, can I shadow with you? Can I follow along with this process? Can I go with you when you go to the property visits? What can I do to help and get involved? I just kept putting myself out there, asking how, when, where I can be of service to help. And from there, again, just kept saying I would love to do recruitment. So when the opportunity came about that they wanted to integrate recruitment into their process, I was the first person that they thought of because I had been constantly in their ear about the opportunity that I was very excited about embarking on. And from that point, rolled right on into my first position as a recruiting coordinator, and loved it until my husband got orders to come to Virginia. I was devastated. I love the people I worked with. I loved my manager. I mean, there was no one there that I did not like, and just was so hungry and passionate about the opportunity. They really supported me, and it was just remarkable. And honestly, that role was more my first time in a professional corporate atmosphere. And again, it was just very eye-opening, just understanding the different dynamics, working in a corporate atmosphere, working in a corporate building. It was just my very first time experiencing it all. So I really did have to learn, I guess, corporate acumen that you typically learn over time, but that was just the greatest first step, and I'm forever grateful for the entire team, and all the people that I met at that organization. So that point, once my husband got orders from Jacksonville to Virginia, I kicked and screamed, so sad. I even wanted to stay in Florida just so I can stay in this role, because that's how much I loved it and was so committed to it. But by this time, I had been unemployed, I believe it was 2 months. It was 2 months, and then I did secure a position as a recruiter here in Virginia. I worked for a finance company, and I worked at that finance company for almost 2 years, and the current recruiter left. She went to another organization, and I rolled up into her position. I'm sorry, so I was an associate recruiter. Losing my titles here. So I was an associate recruiter, and then when the main recruiter left, I rolled up into her position as the main recruiter for the organization for that finance company. And so learned a lot, especially because it was a different industry, learning about all the different dynamics. I was just truly had the opportunity to explore more of the area because I went to a lot of career events. So I did really enjoy getting to meet so many different people who worked in my same niche but were at different organizations, and some of those people became my friends right now. And I think that those relationships and networking with those different people is invaluable, because oftentimes too, you'll keep seeing each other at different career events. You'll keep you'll actually be able to ask each other about different candidates, because Virginia Beach, Hampton Roads is big, but it's a small area, so typically a lot of the same recruiters will know each other. And then at that point, I was recruited to work for a much larger organization, and so that was a human capital management company. I worked there for about I think it was almost 2 years. Yeah, so at that point I was recruited to work for a human capital management company where I secured a position as a recruiter, and I was called a talent acquisition specialist. I was at every job is called something different, but I was a talent acquisition specialist. I did not have any direct reports, and I worked at the corporate office there as well. Really enjoyed all the people that I met. I learned so much, and also had the opportunity to be engulfed in the organization. So that's one thing I love about it, is that, you know, even in my role, I wasn't so siloed in just making sure that I did my role from A to Z. I was able to branch out and partner in different projects, work with different departments, meet with other department heads, and, you know, get down on the ground and be a part of so many different facets that, you know, didn't just consume me with my day-to-day role. So I was actually a part of the organization. I really enjoyed that component of the role. So then after that organization, I did work for myself. I was a career consultant where I wrote resumes. I helped people prepare for interviews. And I did that when my husband did transition to move to Japan. And I really, really loved working for myself. There was such a level of empowerment behind it that I appreciated. I love the flexibility. And again, this was pre-pandemic. So it was just such a unique experience for me that I think at that time I wasn't quite sure of how to direct myself. And then I no longer enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy writing resumes. It felt like I was writing research papers every single day. And so that just wasn't as enjoyable for me because I lost the ability to interact on a daily basis with people. And that's where I thrive, is interacting and engaging with people. So I did get a temporary position, the contract position, working for another corporation. And I was recruited then to work for my current employer, which is a property management investment company right now, and I've been here for almost 2 years now, a year and a half, and I'm really, really enjoying it. And I work as a talent acquisition manager, and I do have one direct report that supports me. So outside of that, that's the trajectory of my career, and which is a great place for me to stop at this moment and even just segue into my top tips to help you get into human resources. So my very first tip is to network. Network, network, network. Do exactly as I did. You can network within your organization, you can network outside of your organization, and that was the key component every single time I moved up into a different role, is that I never stopped networking. I never stopped communicating and engaging with different people, letting them know of my interests. Even if it is internally, it doesn't mean that you're stepping on your current manager's role, because I didn't take away from my role. I just said, how else can I add so that I can learn more? And every time, you know, you shadow with a different department to learn more, see if there's a program, some kind of bridge program with your organization, so that way you can gain additional experience in another department. Also, LinkedIn is going to be your best friend. I would say it's more like online dating, but for professionals. And it's becoming a lot more than just a professional-esque realm, because a lot of businesses are getting on board, organizations are getting on board, entrepreneurs, creators. It's such a happening place right now. But the great thing is the algorithm is in your favor. Everything you do on LinkedIn is spidered out to people who you follow, people who follow you. It just is, it's just every action spreads almost like wildfire, which is a great thing, because when you like a company's article, when you like someone who works for the company, it spiders out to their audience. And so I just think that it's a constant evolving door of you to have an opportunity to let people know that you're interested in roles, to get to know, hey, I see you work at this company, I see you work for Amazon, you know, do you like working there? Can you tell me a little bit about your experience? Do you have a referral program that, you know, I could put your name down? I see there's a position there that I'd like to apply for. You know, that's a good way to see who works at what organization, what recruiter is recruiting for certain positions. LinkedIn is your friend. I have secured the last 4 opportunities from LinkedIn only. No other resource but LinkedIn. The second step of advice that I would give as far as working your way into getting into human resources is, if you have the capacity, I would say take on an entry-level position. It will be a really great way for you to gain some experience, and you don't have to work in that role for a year, 2 years, 3 years. No. That's a dead practice. It may be nice for an employer to see that you have some longevity, but it's not a requirement for you to stay in a role for 1 year to be able to gain some experience. You know what I mean? So, you know, if you're able to take on an entry level position as a coordinator, whether it's a talent coordinator, a staffing specialist, benefits administrator, payroll administrator, something that's kind of entry level that you could be exposed to different areas, an HR generalist position. Those are great roles to get your foot in the door, because when there's an opportunity that comes up internally, you would then have more leverage to apply for that position and more than likely get the opportunity. So again, if you're able to financially afford getting into an entry level position, I think the experience will be invaluable. And then even if you choose not to stay with that organization, that experience is now on your resume, and you can use that to leverage when you're networking and as well when you go on to another organization. No one can take away your experience. So third piece of advice I would say to get into human resources if you're looking to transition is work with a staffing company. Let them recruit for you. I use Randstad and I stand by them. I think they're a great organization. I know there are definitely other staffing organizations in the United States or wherever you reside, but see if you can reach out to them and let them know about your interests into different positions, and maybe they can staff you with one of their clients who are looking for office type positions, HR type roles that would again give you some exposure or some experience. And then that way it'll take some of the legwork off of you, because then that staffing company can speak on your behalf. And then oftentimes too, it doesn't have to be a temporary position. In my case, it ended up being a temporary to hire, but I was hired on as a full-time employee without going through the temporary status at all. So work with and partner with a staffing company who could assist you, who are looking to fill HR positions. Another tip that I have is, if you are currently working and looking to transition into HR, is partner with those who are in your HR field. If they're going to career events, see if they are willing to take other members of the organization. See if you can partner with them. I think that's also something that's great to put on your midterm review, your your year-end review as well, that partnership with other departments. But I think that's a really good way to rub elbows with the right people. If there are big integrations that are taking place, or any other projects that are outside the scope of your day-to-day functions, see how you can partner with those who in particular are working on the HR field. I know it's such a confidential, very sensitive and confidential type role, but I think that there are some ways that you can be able to partner without compromising that. And then if there's not a program at your job, see if there can be some type of rotating there could be some type of rotating bridge opportunity or shadowing opportunity, so that way employees can have different opportunities to be exposed to different departments. That's definitely something you can create or work on creating within your organization, which would be something that I think would enhance the diversity and the experience within an organization, and only benefit the organization and yourself as well. So see if that's an option, but I definitely say rubbing elbows again with those who are within the organization, especially if they're in the human resources department. If you can shadow, if you can sit in on phone interviews, if you can go to career events once we open back up, if there are different projects that that the HR team is partnering on, see if you can partner with them. I think that's a great way to have them familiar with your name and your interests. Another tip I have is to see if you can have your resume done professionally. It's very hard to talk about yourself and to make sure that you're including all the right transferable skills. And I think that having a professional do your resume will just take all of the guesswork out of it. Definitely work within your budget, but I think that it's a great investment. You know, I know that spending $200 on a resume may be out of one's budget, but I think that if you are able to do it, look at it as an investment versus a high cost item, you know what I mean? Because again, it takes the guesswork out of making sure that the information that you want portrayed about yourself is displayed, and then also you can ensure that it is applicant tracking system friendly, so that way it will actually get through the applicant tracking system, which is what a lot of companies use to do an initial scan of your resume. And oftentimes it may pick up different keywords which will highlight what that, or either rank the experience or certain details of your resume that they need to know. Okay, this person is the 90th percentile, this person in the 70th percentile. So it will do that and kind of rate your resume based off of the skills and experience or the questions that you answered. So I think it's highly beneficial to have a professional look at it. If you're able to afford it, and if not, see if someone will sponsor it for you. You know, if you have a birthday coming up, say, hey, you know, instead of getting me this bag, could you pay to have my resume done for me? If you are looking to, I don't know what other next holidays coming up, Mother's Day, you know, say, hey, I would really like if you could invest in this. If you could say, hey, do you mind if I make you a sweater or something, you know, so you could ask for the money straight out. But again, I can't say how invaluable it is to just take the guesswork out of it, and you have a document that you can keep and you can apply with confidence. And lastly, I would say partner with a lot of different groups, especially on Facebook. You know, you can find jobs through TikTok. You can suggest partnering with SHRM, which is Society for Human Resources Management. They have a lot of different groups, certifications, which I think as well is very valuable. You know, people will ask me, do you have to get another degree? Do you have to get a degree in HR to work in HR? No, you do not at all. I don't even recommend someone go back to school to get a degree in HR because you know, unless you're really looking to do something very niche. But I think the certification or getting shadowing experience, something entry level, will be more valuable, because you can have a piece of paper, but if you have zero experience, you know, how will an organization be able to leverage that? So I think using the transferable skills that you have is most valuable to an employer, and will be an easier transition for yourself versus getting all the education but not being able to apply it because you have zero experience. So no, I do not have a degree in HR. So for that to tell you, I've been able to progress in my career without having an HR degree. But if you have one, that doesn't take away from you. But if you currently have a bachelor's degree, you do not need to go back to school to get another bachelor's degree in human resources, or to get another degree, a master's in HR, unless you truly are passionate about wanting to get that degree. So save your money. You don't have to go into student loan debt to get that other degree in HR. All right, outside of that, let me know if any of these tips were helpful. I was very happy to share my journey with you. Leave any additional questions below, and if I need to do a part 2 of this, I'd be happy to do that. I am going to be doing a series on Instagram called According to Akida. I just started it today, where I will be talking about different career and work related topics. There'll be, you know, scenarios that you may be experiencing or having that you need answers. I'll definitely do my best to answer them to the best of my knowledge or ability. And then as well, if you thought that anything on this video was helpful, share it with a friend. Don't keep it to yourself. Screenshot it and let me see that you watched my video on Instagram or Facebook. I'd be happy to reshare you and give you love. I always love when you guys guys share my content as well, engage with me. So if you found any of these tips helpful, again, don't forget to like, share, subscribe to this video if you're not, and I will see you at the next video. Peace out.